Welcome to the third episode in the 2026 Rewilding Pawpaw in Michigan video series that I've got going. May 20th, 2026, I'm Connie Barlow, and I'm standing in a privet patch. This is where I've learned to plant from the mistakes I made last year, including here. This I called Section 8. It's on the inland side of the ephemeral pond, which is just about 30 feet that way. But there's a walnut behind me. We've got some Perry's wallflower here, some nettles. I know this is a good place to plant. And last year I did some massive plantings back here, but I was using the weed everything out technique, patches this big, maybe a little bigger or smaller, and that just attracts the attention of, I think, deer in particular. So I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I haven't done it already this year for all the plantings I've done. Instead, I'm looking for places like this that have some evidence of sun, recent tree falls you can see back here, and the privet here, it's exotic, but rather than me viewing it as an enemy, I'm viewing it as helpful. The deer are overpopulated here, and the privet can provide camouflage for the young plants coming up. Eventually the deer won't be eating the pawpaw once they get used to, ooh, these leaves are toxic. They'll be able to tell that once it gets going here. But for now, I view the privet as a friend. But what you're going to see starting off in this video is, because this one is called Making Peace with Amur Honeysuckle. Lonicera mackii is the scientific name of Amur honeysuckle. What you're going to see is I will be starting the video next to my favorite Amur honeysuckle. Pause here for orientation. My favorite Amur honeysuckle is the shrubby tree on the left. I call it the guardian tree or the spiral tree, and in the figure on the right you can see that I use it as a demarcation for knowing where to turn, towards the downstream patches, towards the upstream patches, and back inland and toward the upland area. Now they're non-native, and it's strange to say my favorite Amur honeysuckle, but making peace with Amur honeysuckle, I've never really fought it. I've been working with the privet, pulling it when I need to, but I've learned a lesson last year and also reading academic papers of how to actually work with what's now an old growth Amur honeysuckle patch. It's in bloom right around me here. You can't see it except right there, the white flowers, you can see it. But I'm avoiding the old growth patches. They're too dark, there's nothing that grows beneath them. I'm looking for privet patches to plant in. So this video is going to start at my favorite Amur honeysuckle tree about a couple weeks ago when I was exploring and planting pawpaw seeds in a new site. And the new site is the farthest upstream that one could get here in this bottomland along the Huron River, near downtown Ypsilanti. So let's get started. This is the guardian tree, the spiral tree. And this is the spot where the bottomland trail stops walking directly to the river. The river itself is just, you can see where all that sunny patch is over there. It's there, and I think maybe down at this level, the bank's about 6 or 7 feet down to the river. This is old growth Amur honeysuckle, and for now I welcome these trees here. They're very old growth, but you can see why the invasive honeysuckle is problematic, because once you get this full canopy here, it just shades everything out. You see, there's nothing else growing underneath it. But it's not everywhere. You know, out there's a lot of places now where ash have been falling, elms continue to fall on occasion, where it's possible for me to directly plant pawpaw and get good sun so that they can head up to the surface. This spiral tree, I'm in the trail that I usually take to most of the patches, but about a month ago I came by here and then I went beyond over to the hill that goes up to the big development there that has a basketball court. Pause here because that same day at sit spot number 2 where I took lunch, I saw direct evidence of there being a basketball court upstream. So let me show you that sequence of film. So this is an elevated bottomland. Again, this would have been a meander that came way in there and then came around, but probably during the logging time when huge numbers of logs were shipped down. Oh gosh, there goes a basketball. Oh no. Oh, somebody must have thrown that over the fence from the development. Oh, I hope somebody finds it. There, that has a basketball court. Kids raise on screens, and so there's hardly ever any kids down here in the woods. When I was young, I would have been down here all the time. But anyway, that's generational differences. So what I did today, because I'd already cleared out the trail all the way through to where you can't go any farther because the hill there that goes up, it's very steep along the river, and there's just no way to go beyond there. So what I did today is I planted 200 ungerminated seeds. This is going to be the furthest upstream patch. As I walk here a bit, and the trail goes over here. There, look what you can see. That is my pack. And over here, walking a little farther, this is the river. And this is where everybody turns off. So let's go take a look at where everybody comes here. I don't know how this is kept open, who does this, but you can't get down to the river here. I mean, kids can get down, but look at the glory of the river here. Somebody obviously lives across the way, but in general, what you hear over there is truck storage. They're always backing up. I don't know what they do there, but it's industrial. And so over here, here's my pack, and right by a walnut, but you can see, look at how the trail continues through here. And I'm going to walk this trail and then start off right where it gets very steep, and it can't continue along the river, and then I'm going to show you where I did 200 seeds planted. All right, on the deer trail, that's easy to follow right along the river. Here is a good place to see where, when people do come down from the development, you can see there's a big fence up there, but they come down through here. I'll zoom in on the fence. But I'm certainly not planting any pawpaw on that kind of a slope. It just has too much erosion that goes on it, and it won't work well. So let me show over here what happens. So yeah, the trail continues here. And then, no way. I mean, deer obviously can get along there, and little kids could take the trail along there. But not this 74-year-old lady. So here's looking out at a flowing well, Huron River. You can see there's a bridge over there. Street goes over there. And then it's just very steep here, and it's actually undercut in this area. Where I started planting was I put in 5 seeds low down here because the privet would be holding back erosion, and that looks like a Lonicera that's trying to grow. Deer will take it down soon. About 5, and then I think another 5 including this area, so a total of 10 there, and then that was plenty. So the real planting started here, and as I've been doing this year, 1 per hole, but see, this is there's just so much leaf litter here that I had to dig those out, and then I could find places to plant here. Okay, so on this trail that I'm going to take back to the main area that people get to, what I ended up doing was I ended up planting 75 seeds on this river side of the trail all the way to the big opening where people stand and look at the river. And then on this side, I ended up planting 53 seeds on this side of the trail, which, as you can see, is where the lowland really starts. And then it goes upslope here, and some beautiful big trees in here. So yeah, I'm going to walk this back. I decided to speed this up while editing. Just look for the dark circular areas where I had removed some of the duff or pulled out a little baby privet, and that's where I was planting all of those seeds. Pretty soon we'll get to the end and get back to normal speed. And including, this is a little hole area here. I think I planted about 8 in that area. And certainly in this area here. So this is where people come out and stand and look at the river. I didn't put anything in this area, but I did find, and I moved it, I found right along the trail, I found this large, in fact I'll pick it up so you can see how huge it is. This is a native clam here in the Huron River, and gosh, wonderful. So I put this here in case anybody wants to have a learning moment about the clams that live there. And look at this tree fall here, which this old tree fall, which would have been why this hole got developed here. And I figure with the privet, and again, here's a little Lonicera, but it's not going to last long. When the pawpaws start coming up, I can prune back the privet somewhat. I won't be pulling it. I want to keep people from walking in there. But I can prune things. And the small Lonicera, I can also saw back in order to get some more light. But you can see automatically there's a lot of light in here. So again, this is looking back along the trail. And let's go to my pack here. So again, 75 seeds on this side, 53 on this side, and then over from this open area here along the way, I planted another 30, including in here and over in there. So 30 seeds in there. And fortunately, I brought an extra sack today because I first picked up a bunch of litter around here. What I'm sure our civilization very soon isn't going to be doing this anymore. But I think I've found a total, over the years, a total of 5 of these helium birthday balloons that blow in. So gathered up the litter, not that much given probably there's no other litter patrol here except me. And then what's really exciting for me is you see this tree here, the gray one, and we look up And the leaves are just starting to come out up there. I certainly can't see them now with this little camera, but maybe when I take a look at what I filmed. But that bark, let me go up to it here. That bark strikes me as an ash. Oh, and along the way I did plant I did plant some seeds here. Right. This is the final group. I planted 17 seeds. 17 seeds in this greenery area. This is a dead robinia. This is a fallen dead robinia. And yeah, so 17 seeds here. So for a total of 200. But let's take a look at the bark here, because I am no tree expert. But by golly, this diamond shape to me looks like it's an ash. And what an astonishing thing to see an ash this old that must be resistant to the emerald ash borers. A couple wonderful things today while I was doing this work is I saw my very first tiger swallowtail of the year. But the other thing is that while I was doing the work, there was a male catbird singing. So that was the first one that I've heard right along the river. Didn't seem to be bothered by me at all. It was just looking out over the river, staking out its territory. And then I happened to look up when silently going by. Well, I just stood up from planting some seeds and was facing the river. I saw an adult bald eagle going right along the river there, close to this shore, at about eye level. Wow. About 45 minutes later, I'm standing where my camera was, and I was talking out in this area. And I have planted 100 seeds in through here. Taking a look here, this is the Amur Honeysuckle right alongside here. And this is the first time I've seen the blooms open this spring. And again, that's the walnut there. And I don't know if this is a bitternut hickory, if that's what this is, but it's got the leaflets coming out on it now, you know, or whether it's an ash. It's certainly not a green ash because there's more than 5. But anyway, I'm going to walk through here and show you where I planted. Starting off here, I walked and didn't plant anything right along this green grassy trail here. It's not really a trail, but certainly one I can take walking over this log. And then coming to this area where we've got the 2 long fallen branches of a tree that goes out to the ephemeral pond. Let me show the ephemeral pond here. Yeah. We had a big rain yesterday, so the ephemeral pond is full up again. And here's the walnut pointed out at the beginning. So I don't know what this was when it fell, but being in the pond, it might have been a maple that fell, because it's really the maples that live right in the ephemeral pond. But I planted the first 25 seeds in this area. And I know that last year I planted out this area here in this sort of making slightly bigger patches where I would put 2 or 3 or 5 seeds in there. I think maybe 70 I planted in there. No, I planted 43 seeds into what I called Patch 8C along the large ephemeral pond. And I did that on August 14th, 2025. So this new patch, planted May 20th, 2026, is called Patch 8C Extended. And there is a shagbark hickory right there, which is the only, it's not a bottomland tree, so it's kind of unusual to see it. So this connects right to that existing patch. So 25 seeds in this area. You can see where I stomped down. Anywhere where you see grasses, I was not planting there. I was planting more around where I could find the actual herbaceous plants, and especially the privet. So then the rest of the 75 are in where you see the tall growth, not where it gets shallow, not where it gets slight growth in there, but really where the tall growth is in here. And some of the places I covered up and some I did not, but you can see how black and fortunately loamy this soil is. And the black loamy soil is what is needed. So you can see I planted quite a few amidst these rather tall privets. And looking back to my pack, there you can see large Lonicera in through there, bounding this area, but this area is open. So if I can get some pawpaw started in here, keep pulling back or pruning back the privet a bit as the pawpaw gets tall, it certainly has the capability to overtop Amur Honeysuckle, which only goes up to about 20 feet. And pawpaw can get to at least 30. So this looks ideal to me, but it'll take a year to find out. And this is the area that I was standing in talking, and I planted quite a few in here too. You can see using the privet for camouflage, also pulling out plants so that there isn't any root competition in there. The few plants I would pull out, often it was little baby privets. Okay, so heading back to my pack, you can see how different it gets back in here. Dark underneath the Amur Honeysuckle. And parts of the area where I planted down there last year, I just think they're too low. I don't think it's loamy enough. But it looks like the deer has gotten into those weeded patches anyway, so live and learn. May 20th, still in section 8. And here's an animal trail here, and last year I called this section 8A. I planted, I think, about 20 or 25 seeds here. It goes slightly downhill, but I stayed in the higher area. I think that's an elm there. It's leafing out. This is an ash. It's still alive. And so today I planted 25 seeds, basically from that log there over around here, and you can see my stick up against the ash and then slightly back in that area. Pulled out a few, sometimes privets, but really just one seed in at a time in there. And off to the right, you can see how the slope going to the upland trail starts right away here. That's a hackberry, that's a sycamore. And the trail coming in off the upland comes through here and wanders right along the edge. And over here is where I planted 650 Joe Grant Midland pawpaw seeds last winter, not planted, but stashed them for winter stratification. And up here is where I had 1,500 of Mark Boone's southwest of Ann Arbor. And this is a big tree fall area, and this is notable for this time of year, mayapples back here. And over the past 2-3 years, I had planted some pawpaw along here, and about 4 were still alive in this area, but thus far only 1 alive up here. And I'll take a close-up of that now. There it is, right in the center of the picture. Good spot not to get stepped on, and possibly not even noticed. So this is the only one still surviving. This would be This would be its third summer, I think. Yeah, and you'd think this log could roll down slope, but it's already rolled right up against this tree here. So it's possible that this pawpaw might actually survive. Okay, so I was just over there. This is the first part, and I came from earlier today planting 100 seeds back in that direction. But look at all the Amur honeysuckle here, and you can see underneath it, it's an herbal desert. So I don't even try to plant anything under there. And tremendous amount of shade that it makes. But fortunately, the deer, you can see the deer eat it up to about as far as a deer can stand up. So they prevent seedlings from establishing. So fortunately, we've got some patches here, but they're not all over the place. All right, so 25 seeds, 100 earlier. I've got another 75 to plant to get to 200, and maybe I'll get to 300 plantings today. I've noticed the first mosquitoes on this cool day. Got to get things planted before it gets difficult with the mosquitoes. May 20th. Can you see the pawpaw in the center of the picture here? It's never had its top nipped off. It's at least, this is probably its fourth summer that it's going into. Always very smooth, shiny leaves here. And this is right along the steep downhill part. Here's the upland trail here. And as I flip around here, here's where the upland trail goes down to the bottomland. And at my pack, that's where section 8 goes this way. This is where I've been planting today, May 20th. I haven't kept that trail up, and then this one goes to the river and all the other trails out there. But I'm going to walk this down here because I've just done a planting of 75 seeds at a place I'm going to call Portal B, because Portal A is the spot where I planted last year 5 window box seedlings that had grown during the summer in a window box, got a lot of sun. And then last time I was out here, what was that, 5 days ago or so, I put 9 additional ones back here, again camouflaged by the privet and other plants. And then here's my pack, and then what I've just planted, you can see the trail here that goes back to section 8 where I planted 100 seeds and then 25 seeds way back in there. Here, basically, you can see where my, let's see, yeah, see the orange ribbon there? Okay, coming forward through here, look how dense and how tall some of this privet is. But coming over to this side, not under the Lonicera, but over here, and you can see a bit of trail here, but starting around in here, around this deadfall, putting in and through here, pulling out a privet here and there and other plants just to make sure there was no root competition, but just one at a time, putting in all through there. So this is 75 seeds, May 20th, new patch, Portal B. Okay, time for me to head off to one of my 2 sit spots along the river. Yes, and have some lunch. May 20th. Here's the blooming Amur honeysuckle right along the river, overhanging the river actually, right by my sit spot. So here's shading right over my sit spot here. And there's my stick, of course. So let's take a look at this Amur Honeysuckle here, how it does. Look at its ability to lean here. Now here there was a tree that fell against it, but this is old growth Amur Honeysuckle here. And this one too. You can see coming out of the same root crown area as a piece that's already come off. And it's along this side here too. Creates a lot of shade. Looking up. Now this would be a redbud here. That's a pioneer species. So looking more along here. Here it is. And so let's take a look at where it comes out. Really large. This is old growth. How it comes out of the ground and then just keeps putting up new stems as needed. Yeah. So there's the sit spot down there. And right here is where my friend and I stash the chairs. This is the one that he found and brought down here, and I use it a lot more than he does. And here's the one I first found over by the ephemeral pond. Look at it, it's just an old, not stainless steel, but an old iron with some kind of a white covering on it. Rusty, very small, and some nice bullet holes. So, quite a mix here. This one is far more comfortable. It has the armrests. All right, thank you. Sit spot number 2. You've been great today. 2 days later, it's May 22nd, and I'm taking another look at the place where I planted germinated seeds last part of my journey here 2 days ago. And it was over in here that I planted the germinated seeds, but I want to show a close-up of the area. Now again, I pretty much weeded this area here, and yet you can see how it's filled in. I'm sure I added some leaves to it. But this is where I planted 4 window box plants. And this one here you can see where on the right in the center, that dark purple, that's where it got bit off. And right here is where it's coming up from a leaf bud below. And look, it must have stored a lot of good starches, sugars in its roots, because it's already produced this much. Now the other one of the 4 that survived, this is what it looks like. Here's its base. Look how smooth that is. Purple, brown, smooth. And it looks like it's coming right out of the axillary area that didn't get bit off last year, and golly, it's going to go up quite a ways this year. That'll be great. Now, I also wanted to show this here again, because what I'm going to do today, this is patch 5D. There's a total of 5A, B, C, D planted. I'm walking back to the trail here. Here's the trail that keeps heading this way, and my last major seed planting was off in there somewhere. But looking here, that's 5D. And so there's A, B, C, D, and E. And I'm going to walk up to patch A here. I'm staying on the trail, crossing over a log here. Here's my pack still on the trail. And I'm going to walk up to patch 5A, the first place I planted, because I mentioned weeding, and I'm going to show you how much comes back. And then I'm going to come over to here, because this is a hillock where I had two, even just a week ago, two that I planted last year were in good shape, and one's been taken down already. They do need camouflage. Okay, so walking through here, this is the area I weeded in. This area right in here. And I think it was about 80 seeds that I planted here. No, I planted 120 germinated seeds, July 1st, 2025. Live and learn. I think the most I ever counted late last summer into the fall that came up was maybe 20 or 25. But here are the big tall ones this year. Okay, here's one. Let's go a little closer on that one so you can see the stem. You see that was bit off too, and then heading up. And then the next one, little one over here, right in the center. And then another one right in there. But the important thing is just to see that I'm not going to go in there and completely weed again. Not at all. I'm hoping that they will get some camouflage. So, standing up here and moving over to where you can see my stick. This is on the old of a big fallen tree here. Again, a lot of robinia. They're pioneer species here and have fallen. This is a hackberry right in front. And looking up, the trees are really filling in. It's not just the Lonicera, like in here, but the canopy trees that are filling in too. And over here, at this log, here's the root area that was upset into a hillock. And I planted a couple germinated seeds into there last year, and they were doing fine even into this spring until the last time I came out here. They were not in good shape. So this one still is. You can see it's got a bit of camouflage there, but this is what it looks like. And the one over here, right down by here, there is a bit of a stick right here. Yeah, you can see how low it was bit off at. I don't think that's going to come back. I really don't. But you can see there's no camouflage here. And again, looking over here. So about 2 weeks ago, 10 days, 2 weeks ago, I did plant a number of germinated seeds up in here. And what I'm going to do today, I've got 300 ungerminated seeds in my pack, and here you can see goes upslope to the development up there. Cemetery is over that side, but up here is the development with the housing. And see this big cottonwood with the hole? You can also see a semblance of a trail. And I did manage to take that once this spring. So I'm going to take that trail and trying not to plant on too much of a slope, but make sure I've got good black loam soil. I'm going to see if I can get about 300 seeds into there until I hit the river, which will be the farthest upstream planting that I did a couple weeks ago. Starting to scope out the trail. Here's the cottonwood that I showed, and here's a mayapple patch right alongside it. And not unusual, we'll be seeing some refuse back here. as we're right on the edge of the development on the top of this slope. All right, here's what it looks like for continuing on. Instead of 300 seeds, I ended up planting only 100 in a couple patches that looked like this. And so where I did plant, I felt good about planting. But there just weren't many areas like that, and I've seen a lot better places already in the parts of the forest I've gone to a lot. So what I did find that was very interesting is if you notice my stick here, and what you'll see there is I surmised was an old car seat. And that was pretty easy to figure out when I did a 180 and looked upslope. May 22nd, standing on the trail right by one of the big cherries. And this is the one that marks where patch 2 is. So this I would have planted rather early in the summer last year. And again, this was a small weeded patch. I think I planted only 20 or 30 seeds there. Yes, here's the photo I took last year, June 28th, 2025, after planting 30 germinated seeds here into patch 2. And my flag there on my stick, walking stick, shows where it is. But I just finished putting in, single seed at a time, this whole area in here and behind this large growth pattern here and over around in there, and a little bit coming out into here as well, but 100 really back there. And what I discovered is that the tallest herbaceous growth back there is nettle. I tested it, and yes, it's nettle. A bit smaller is something that I think is Asteraceae family. So I'll start going back here, and you'll be able to see a couple places where I dug in. Again, there's 100 here. Usually had to pull something out, sometimes a small privet, sometimes a much bigger privet. Pulled it out. And over here is where I saw one pawpaw coming up. Yeah, right there. One pawpaw, the shiny leaves there from last year. There may be others there, but look how it's filled in with grasses and other small plants. So maybe they'll have a better chance this year of being camouflaged for a while. But here, these here, again, I view any place where this kind of thing shows up is there's got to be adequate sun. And I think that's Asteraceae. And then here, wow, look at the size of these. And these are nettles. Yeah. So I was able to get in there a little bit because, again, I could walk through this privet area here, and then around back, it's also got some sun back there, and so I planted back there and around here, and then you could see some places over in there and around here and out through there. Okay, so I'd say it's time for some lunch. I'll go to one of my 2 sit spots. I'm at sit spot number 1. This is the one that my husband and I, when he was still alive, scoped out, and we're sitting here. And one of the things I love about it is no human being mows this lawn. I have seen, while I've been sitting here, I have seen down at the far end, I have seen a muskrat collect tall grasses right next to that leaning tree, put them in its mouth, and then be swimming downstream with the grasses right in its mouth this way. So its home is somewhere this way. But my sense is that it's the muskrat that keeps this clear, because I've never seen Canada goose turds here. And of course, the Canada geese would do a good job of lawn keeping as well. So, sit spot number 1, and I'll just point out here that I always roll my blue jeans or my khakis into my socks, because this is what you do to keep the ticks from getting underneath. If they get on your boots or anything, they have to keep climbing up, so you got a better chance of catching them before they get into the skin area. And what I find fascinating is, with all the crawling I've done last year, all the crawling I've done this year, and smashing through privet bushes and seen and heard deer, I've never picked up any ticks. So this is truly a blessed sight for guerrilla rewilding of our sacred pawpaw tree, post-industrial, very close to downtown Ypsilanti. It's been a lovely day. We've come to the end of the 3rd episode in 2026 of my multi-year video playlist about Pawpaw in Michigan. 2026 began with a 20-minute introduction. This was followed by an hour-long episode subtitled Making Peace with Deer and Privet. And thus this 3rd episode had as an underlying theme, Making Peace with Amur Honeysuckle. Look down in the caption to access a time-coded table of topics pertaining to this episode. And there you will also find a link to the full playlist. What I call a minimalist approach to ecological restoration of pawpaw into its favored bottomland habitat began in 2025 with an episode titled Helping Pawpaw Walk, Restoration and Reciprocity for Subcanopy Forests. This was followed by a video titled Tending Pawpaw, Autumn Observations and Experiments. More videos will come. As always, may the forest be with you.